Your dog just walked into the room, found the spot closest to your feet, turned in a small circle, and lay down. You didn't call them, you didn't offer food, you were simply there, and that was enough. Most people look at that moment and think, this is loyalty, this is a dog doing what dogs do. They follow you, they stay close, they sleep nearby. It's sweet, it's simple, it's just their nature. But the science tells a completely different story. What your dog just did is not instinct in the way we casually use that word. It is not random behavior or simple habit. It is the expression of a bond that researchers are only beginning to fully understand, a bond that is biologically real, measurably ancient, and more nuanced than almost anyone realizes. And if you understand what is actually happening inside your dog's brain in that moment, you will never look at them the same way again. Here is the problem with the simple explanation. If it were just loyalty, it would look the same in every dog. Every dog would follow every person. Shelter dogs would bond equally to every volunteer who walked through the door. Strays would show the same attachment to the first human who offered food. But that is not what happens. A dog who has been with you for years behaves completely differently around you than around a stranger, even a kind stranger, even one holding treats. The behavior is specific to you. The closeness is specific to you. Loyalty as a blanket explanation does not account for that specificity. And if the behavior is that specific, the question becomes, what exactly is your dog responding to, and what do they actually need from you to keep that bond alive and intact over the course of a lifetime? In 2015, researchers at Asabu University in Japan published what became one of the most discussed studies in anthrozoology, the scientific study of human and animal relationships. The team, led by Dr. Takefumi Kikusui, measured urinary oxytocin levels in both dogs and their owners before and after a period of sustained mutual eye contact. The sample included 30 dog-owner pairs across multiple breeds and age ranges. The finding was remarkable. Dogs who engaged in extended eye contact with their owners showed a 57% increase in oxytocin levels. Their owners showed an increase of 300%. 300%. For context, this is the same hormonal surge associated with a mother looking into the eyes of her newborn child. The bond being activated through that simple exchange of gaze is not metaphorical, it is biochemical. It is the same architecture of attachment that evolution reserved for the deepest human relationships, and your dog triggers it every time they look up at you from across the room. That is not sentiment, that is neuroscience confirming something you already felt but could never quite name. But oxytocin is only one part of what is happening. The deeper layer involves a gene, a specific mutation in a gene called GTF2I, that researchers at Princeton University and the University of Massachusetts identified as a key difference between domestic dogs and their closest genetic relatives. This gene is associated with hypersociability. In humans, a deletion in the same region of chromosome 7 is linked to Williams syndrome, a condition characterized by extreme friendliness, a compulsive desire for social connection, and an inability to feel threatened by unfamiliar people. Dogs carry a version of this same genetic profile. What this means in practice is that the domestic dog's orientation toward humans is not simply trained behavior, not purely learned attachment. It is written into their genome. They are genetically inclined toward you in a way that wolves, even wolves raised by humans from birth, simply are not. The wolf can be tamed. The dog is something different. The dog is wired, at the most fundamental biological level, for closeness with you. This is not a romantic interpretation of pet ownership. This is molecular biology confirming that the relationship between your species and theirs is unlike anything else in the natural world. Zoom out further, much further, and the picture becomes even more striking. In 2011, archaeologists excavating a burial site in the Bonn-Oberkassel region of Germany uncovered the remains of a human and a dog buried together approximately 14,000 years ago. The dog had been severely ill, likely suffering from canine distemper during its final months of life. The illness would have rendered the animal useless in any practical sense, incapable of hunting, incapable of guarding, consuming resources without offering anything in return. And yet the humans cared for it through multiple relapses. They kept it alive. They buried it with the kind of deliberate, careful placement reserved for those who mattered deeply. Scientists who analyzed the find concluded that the only explanation consistent with the physical evidence was emotional attachment. that these humans 14,000 years ago valued this dog not for what it could do, but for what it was to them. The dog lying next to you on the couch tonight is the product of 14,000 years of that relationship. Every generation of humans who chose to love a dog, and every generation of dogs who chose to orient toward humans, contributed something irreplaceable to the animal breathing beside you right now. Now here is where it gets genuinely surprising, and I want you to hold your assumption loosely for a moment. Most people believe that what a dog needs most is play, activity, stimulation, running, games, constant engagement. It feels logical. Dogs are energetic. They seem happiest when they are moving. A study published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science tested this assumption directly, comparing stress hormones and behavioral indicators in two groups of dogs. The first group received high levels of physical activity and stimulation. The second received moderate activity paired with consistent, intentional periods of calm physical contact with their owner, what researchers described as low arousal bonding time. The result contradicted nearly every popular assumption in dog enrichment culture. Dogs in the second group showed significantly lower cortisol levels across the measurement period. Their anxiety indicators declined. Their attachment behaviors became more stable and secure. What your dog needs most is not stimulation. It is safe, predictable, physical proximity to you, with no agenda attached. The motion is not the message, the stillness is. And that single finding reframes almost everything we think we know about what it means to love a dog well, because the 6 things your dog most hopes to receive from you are quieter and simpler and more consistent than most people ever realize. Researchers at the University of Helsinki's Canine Mind Project, one of the largest and most rigorous ongoing studies of dog cognition and emotion in the world, involving over 10,000 dogs across multiple years of data collection, made a discovery that almost never receives the attention it deserves. Dogs do not experience time the way we assume. Their memory is not episodic in the way human memory is. They do not replay specific scenes, but they do maintain what the researchers described as an affective residue, a physiological record of how specific interactions with specific individuals have made them feel over time. What this means in practice is that your dog is never simply reacting to what you are doing in this moment. They are responding to a cumulative emotional history that you have been constructing with them, interaction by interaction, across months and years. Every moment of quiet presence, every hand laid gently on their back, with no expectation attached. Every time you spoke to them softly when you did not need anything from them in return. Every time you simply let them be close without interrupting the closeness. All of that is stored, not as memory in the narrative sense, but as feeling, as a baseline emotional state, as an internal orientation toward you that shapes how they experience the world when you are not even in the room. When your dog crosses an entire house just to lie down at your feet, they are not reacting to this moment. They are responding to every moment you have ever given them. That is the synchronization. That is the depth of what is actually happening in what looks like a perfectly ordinary scene. There is one more thing you need to know, and it matters more than most people realize until it is too late. The same attachment system that makes your dog orient so strongly toward you also makes disruptions in that bond measurable in their body, in ways that carry real health consequences. Researchers at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest found that dogs exposed to chronic relational stress, including inconsistent owner behavior, unpredictable daily environments, or prolonged emotional unavailability, showed significantly elevated glucocorticoid levels, altered sleep architecture, and changes in social signaling that are easy to overlook precisely because they look like a dog calming down. The warning sign is not aggression, it is not destruction, it is not the loud, obvious signal. The warning sign is withdrawal. A dog who stops following you between rooms, a dog who no longer meets you at the door with the same intensity they once brought to that moment. A dog who was shadow close for years and now sleeps alone by choice. These behavioral changes can signal emotional dysregulation rooted in the relationship itself, or they can signal the early stages of a physical condition that is reducing your dog's desire or ability to seek contact. A study published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior found that approximately 38% of dogs displaying apparent behavioral detachment were later found to have an underlying medical condition that had gone undetected. Your dog cannot tell you something is wrong with words. That option does not exist for them. The only signal available to them is behavior. When the behavior changes, the right response is not frustration, it is attention. Now go back to that moment. Your dog walked into the room, found the spot closest to your feet, turned in a small circle, and lay down. You know now that the oxytocin flooding their system in that moment mirrors the neurochemistry of a mother meeting her newborn. You know their genome carries a mutation that codes at the molecular level for connection with you specifically. You know that 14,000 years of human dog history runs through their bloodline like an unbroken current. You know that their stillness beside you is the fullest thing they know how to say. That small circle they turned before lying down is ancient, an echo of grass being pressed flat on a plane that no longer exists on any map. And the weight of them against your feet is not just warmth, it is accumulated trust, offered again, quietly, in the only language they have. If you have a dog, I want to ask you something real in the comments. Which of these 6 acts of love do you feel you give your dog most naturally, and which one, honestly, do you think you have been underestimating? Tell me about your dog. I read these. And if the actual science of what your dog experiences matters to you, not the simplified version, but the real findings, subscribe, because next we are looking at why dogs yawn when you yawn, and the mechanism behind it is far stranger and more meaningful than anyone has properly explained.